Hey, I still see people joining in, but I'm going to kick this off. Welcome to our webinar for this week called the Dispatch Eliminator. Very excited to be hosting this. And so I'm Wim, the founder of TopLeft. As you probably saw from the emails and the landing page, we are bringing in a client who has an amazing story of phenomenal results implementing TopLeft. And it really shows getting results doesn't need to take a year and be a long grind. So in 30 days or less, she got some amazing results, and she'll share her story shortly. And so let's go on to the next slide there. And excited to introduce to Neil Simpson, and one of our clients. And she's been working with project teams in the IT space for many years, 15 years, and both within the MSP space as beyond, as you can see here on the slide, working with a lot of software. And then in the last, I guess, year or 2 years in the MSP space with ConnectWise and Kanban. And she is with Morgan Berger in Chicago. So welcome to Neil.
All right, Wim, thank you so much. I'm honored, Wim, that you've invited me here today and asked me to speak about the success that we've had at Morgan Berger, achieving that smoother operations and the higher efficiency by implementing TopLeft. Before I share all of our successes, I would like to start by taking you back to the beginning of our journey and talking about the challenges that we had that led us to TopLeft. I know that many of us may be feeling those pain points today, and just understanding that Morgan Berger was there, and then we'll look at how far we've come. So just a couple call outs on this slide. We had, before we started with TopLeft, we had about 180 service tickets open at a time on average. We had both a service manager and a project manager. We were operating at full delivery capacity, and our techs were assigned based upon their known competencies. And our work often lingered because we would schedule and reschedule. Those are some facts, but now let's talk about what it actually felt like before TopLeft and some of the challenges that we had. So scheduling was huge for us. We had a service manager and a project manager, and they would work so hard to get all of our techs and all of our tasks scheduled. And that was great until about 9:30 in the morning, when that first emergency ticket comes in, and then everything needs rescheduled, right? You pull in the tech that's needed on that emergency, and then you're rescheduling his next things, and that can domino into your other techs, etc. And we felt that pain. In fact, we had two resources that were spending most of their time scheduling and rescheduling. And not only did we have the situation where, oh, we had this emergency incoming work, we had the flip side scenario, right? In the MSP industry, I'm sure that you guys have been there, where you send somebody on site, you think it's going to take a couple hours to repair a printer or a computer, and they get there and they recognize that it's not plugged into the wall or something like that. And all of a sudden you have a couple hours of free time. And so then you have that wasted time where you're either scrambling to find something that can fill the time that doesn't need to be scheduled with someone, or that time goes to be wasted. So that scheduling was a huge pain point that we had before we started TopLeft. Another challenge that we were faced with was siloed techs who were becoming at times unengaged, and they kind of work the same things day in, day out. Our service manager would assign work to the techs that she knew could work that task, which makes sense, right? You want that task to be worked efficiently. You want to make sure that it's worked right. And so you assign it to that person that you know that can do it. That being said, it wasn't allowing our techs to stretch themselves. We would send techs to training, but then just that training didn't give the service manager and the project manager confidence that that tech could actually perform that task. And so they wouldn't assign it. And then beyond that, then we have those silos of work, and sometimes those silos fill up, right? You have one tech that's extremely busy, and then you have other techs that may be light that you would love to be utilizing. And so that was another huge challenge that we had. The third big challenge that I want to talk about is our leadership's visibility to where we were at. Now, we tried to create reporting out of ConnectWise. We did a lot of things. We tried to look at, which techs were overloaded, who was working on what, how many tickets were sitting in limbo. Oftentimes we could feel and we could see those tickets piling up, but we didn't know why. We didn't know if we had a resource constraint. We didn't know if we were waiting on clients. We didn't know what was happening. And we would spend a lot of time trying to figure that out. And so with all of those pain points, I looked back in my experience and I said, ConnectWise is great, but really, I feel like an agile methodology here can really help us out. And that's when I went searching for Kanban, and that's when I found TopLeft.
Let's just
So
I'll just stop you there.
yeah,
Just for the people on here, just want to post in the chat like which of these challenges are you guys may be having now? Like the scheduling Tetris or underutilized talent, you got silos, tickets piling up. Just post that in the chat. Yeah. Love to hear from somebody here.
love to see that.
Yeah. And perhaps you solved it already as well, but
I'm going to give people another minute here because I would love to hear back on that because that's going to drive this conversation so much.
okay, yeah. So someone says here, Frederick, overscheduled technicians due to having to reschedule or reprioritize due to escalation to the next fire. Yeah, very common with that typical classic traditional dispatch model scheduling. I guess why does that happen in our industry that there's this just pushing hard on dispatch and filling everyone's calendars? Like how did we get there?
I think it's just the fault of scheduling, right?
Yeah, I think it's a sense of control, just power and control. And you think you're more, if people's calendars are full, they must be utilized equals profit and money. Yeah.
Similar missed service calls, status is not updated. Yes.
Mm.
So Jordan and Frederick, have you been able to get past those, or are you still in that situation where you're trying to fight through it? Work in progress. Understood. Hopefully we can help you with that today.
Yeah. And tickets sitting there forever, just being rescheduled. That's just such a waste. Admin touches, brains being engaged and grinding on but not actual work. No, there's no output, no result, no conclusion. It's such a waste. Context.
Yeah. Jordan, I'm excited. You said you just had your TopLeft kickoff call yesterday. I'm excited for your journey.
Yeah. Yeah, good point there from Judah. We don't want to say no to a client. So we can say, yeah, it's on the calendar for next week. And it really, sometimes just the hope and prayer it'll actually happen then. Like it could get bumped again, but at least we can tell them, hey, it's on the calendar for such and such time. Yeah, awesome. Okay, very good. So yeah, common problems, not alone. So yeah, keep going.
All right. All right, so let's talk about that scheduling first. So admin relief. So our goal here is that with Kanban and TopLeft, you can virtually eliminate the constant rescheduling of tickets. And the way that you do that is you only schedule tasks which require a client or third-party interaction. And I'm going to talk about that a lot, but the impact here is so big, right? It's what we're talking about. The impact at Morgan Berger was so large that we were actually able to eliminate our service manager position. And so that was a full resource. And then we were able to utilize that resource in other places. Um, so it's amazing to me that the rescheduling was taking 40 hours a week. So how does that work with TopLeft? So in the scheduling, we schedule every task and then we reschedule every task. But with TopLeft, what we're going to do is we're going to assign each ticket to a status, and then we are going to move it through the board, right? Our techs will come in, they'll pick up their top right ticket, and they'll work it and move it to the right as far as they can. With that, they're working on tickets as they have availability, and they're working tickets to completion. That is so important that we allow our techs to pick up a ticket and work it as far as they can. That way they're not picking it up and putting it down. Also, it prevents the rescheduling. Now, let's talk about scheduling. We have the tendency when we're moving from a scheduling model to Kanban to go ahead and schedule, right? This is what I'm going to work on next. This is what I'm going to work on next. I really want to challenge everybody to not do that. And I want to challenge everybody to really think about what they're scheduling. Just because you're going on site, do you really need to schedule that? We definitely have clients that we can drop by and take care of simple problems. If we're not bringing down their network, if we're not impacting their service, we can go there and work on things during the agreed upon hours. And so that's a bit of a mind shift, right? It's going from I have to schedule this, the client has to know exactly when I'm coming, I need to be there between these hours, to really providing a lot of freedom. And what that does is it actually allows you to solve those problems with your customers faster. Why schedule for tomorrow when you can be there in an hour if you have a resource available? So I'm going to stop talking for a minute and I want to get feedback again. What are your thoughts there? What are your concerns? Are you doing that today? Give everybody a minute to think here and then type.
So if a resource is available, what if like they're not the most familiar with that client or haven't done that sort of job before? Could there be reluctance around that or just downsides of that?
Is that a question to me?
Yeah, question for you, yeah.
Yeah. I think if you have resources available, then they should feel like they can reach out to the experts for that, whether it be an expert for that client or an expert for that type of work, that they have somebody that they can reach out to that has their back. Our techs have, with Kanban, have grown really comfortable reaching out to each other.
Mm.
And so they'll say, oh, hey, I've never been to this client, but I see that there's work available. I'm good at fixing printers. It's a printer problem. So I don't know the client, but I know the technology. And then they'll reach out to whoever was there last or whoever's comfortable with that client and say, hey, can I go to this client? They'll have a quick chat and then they'll get that problem resolved. And the tech that is the primary on that customer account or that normally services that customer, they also appreciate that because it's helping to reduce their workload, right? It's sharing that workload, it's flattening the work. And so it helps them. And so people are so excited to coach and help other techs through the problem so they don't have to do it.
Yeah. I love it. So the team is owning the work and the clients. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So, Judy, you said if you have a resource available, we'll send a resource to assist. I love that. We do that as well. If somebody's available, why not send them on site? The work can get done twice as fast and they can learn while they're there. Love that idea. It's fantastic, Judy. Kevin, if you don't schedule an on site visit, how are you setting clear expectations with the client? How do you prevent showing up and it's not a good time for the client? The user is unavailable, etc. And then you have wasted your time and you have to go back again. It's a great call out, right? I think it really depends on the type of work. If it was to help a single person with a single computer, then definitely you would want to make sure that that resource is available. Now, do you have to actually have to schedule? It may be that you see that ticket and you reach out to the client and you say, "Hey, I have availability today. Would you be okay with me stopping by this afternoon?" And then you get that ticket worked. You're not scheduling it for tomorrow or the next day. So that's one option if it is that individual. But also be thinking about those tickets where maybe you're going on site to fix a shared printer. And so that printer's down. If you go on site today to that shared printer, it's not going to negatively impact anyone. They're just going to get their printer fixed faster. Kevin, let me know. Does that make sense? Do you still have some discomfort there? Does that make you a little bit more comfortable with that idea? Because I do think that this is really a shift in mindset.
Yeah. The communication still needs to happen. You can't have surprises
Yes.
just show up and they're not expecting it, right? Communication needs to be there.
Yep. I agree that a lot of our clients will reach out, will say we're coming. Some of our clients we've created such a relationship with that we will come, wave at them while we walk through the door and head back to that printer. It, and that's knowing that client, right? You have to understand that you have to be working with the techs that are comfortable with that client to make sure that that relationship's established. You have to understand the type of business and if that interaction's appropriate, etc. Got it. So Kevin, you're doing that today. Perfect.
So I guess just playing a bit of devil's advocate here to Neil is if, if for field service engineering teams or like the technician, that's all their job is like on site. They come in the office, get parts, get their tool bag, or might keep it in the car and they're just going to clients all day. Does this flow still work? Or in that case, should there be a coordinator to help scheduling and such?
I think it's both. So our techs that we do have techs that are primarily on site, and sometimes we'll schedule them. Sometimes they'll see the ticket come in and they'll grab it and they'll go. And so I think it's really understanding the tech's capabilities, the tech's availability, and the customers that you can do that with. And I, I gotta say, right, it also depends on the type of work that's occurring. This is what if the work that you're going to be doing is going to bring down their network. Obviously, that's going to be needed to be scheduled probably outside of business hours, right? If you're going to need to get on somebody's laptop and they won't have their laptop available to them, obviously that needs to be scheduled. And so I think it's really thinking about those situations and challenging your mind of what does need to be scheduled versus what truly doesn't need to be scheduled. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on. So technician empowerment, this is probably my favorite. So I love to watch people grow. I love to grow myself. I feel like when people are trained and cross-trained, they can do so much more. They're engaged, they're empowered, and you flatten that workload. And when I say flatten that workload, what I mean is if you have one tech with a huge workload and then you have other techs with a light workload, what you're trying to do is bring that all and average it out. And so with Kanban and the ability for a tech to read a ticket, understand that ticket, possibly research that ticket, and then take it to someone that's advanced in that area and say, hey, I've read this ticket. I've done this research. This is how I think I should address it. Am I right? And then they can say, yes, you're absolutely right. You have the confidence, you have the skill set. Go do what you just said. Let me know if you hit any snags. And them learning from that. Or they may say, actually, I'd approach this a different way. Let's do it together. And you have that really natural growing. And so much of the time where that discussion takes place is a stand up. So our techs will often come to the stand up. They've looked at tickets, they want to work them, and they'll be ready to have those conversations with the more senior techs that are there.
Yeah. What time do you do your stand-ups?
It's interesting. We have a couple that are first thing in the morning, around 8:30 and 9 o'clock. And then we also have a team that meets at the end of the day as well. I know that's a little less normal, but it works for them. The teams that meet in the morning, and honestly, the team that's at the end of the day, one thing that's interesting is our techs really like those stand-ups. And so I catch them calling in when they're driving to clients or driving home from clients. And that's not something that we encourage, but it's something that they're naturally doing. And if they can do that safely, it's a great use of their time. Also, in order to support that, when we have our stand-ups and when we're going through tickets, we make sure that we tee up the ticket so you don't have to be looking at the screen to understand what we're talking about. So I want to open this up to questions, comments, feedback. Are you doing this cross training today? Are you meeting in stand-ups today? How is that going? So much of the time I hear people say we don't have time for a stand-up, and I just want to challenge back, like, how do you not have time for a stand-up? Because it saves so much time. There's so much growth and all of that. And so I feel like the challenge is actually backwards.
I've got another client who is doing like a beginning of day and end of day stand up as well, and they're getting all their service tickets done that day, or it's scheduled for the next day. Just so efficient, so effective. Yeah, there's a lot of objections on the stand ups, like the time, or like, oh, we're not really working together anyways. Like it's just a status update, which is, I think, it's a symptom of a bigger problem that they're not really a team. It's a group of people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do want to be clear on one thing. I have teams that meet in the morning. I have a team that meets in the afternoon. I don't have anybody that meets twice a day.
Oh, okay. Oh,
The team that meets at 4 o'clock, they meet at 4 o'clock every
yeah.
day.
Yeah.
3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yep.
Yeah.
I think especially the less frequent than daily works when you have gotten the to the point where you're trying to think of the word to say, like an effective team where you have the collaboration, you're comfortable reaching out to each other, etc. And that way, if something comes up on Tuesday, you're not scared to reach out to one of your peers.
Yeah, just look at the title and the word empowerment and power. So in the old way, it's like the dispatcher has a lot of that power and control, and the team is just doing what's been given to them. But this is really shifting that sense of ownership of the work to the team, so they own it and work together to get it done. Yeah.
Love the way you said that.
Instead of the dispatcher kind of pushing work and you do this, that, it's actually being pulled as they're ready. They pull it, they work on it together, get it done. So what are other responsibilities that a dispatcher normally does? Like obviously their scheduling, that's a big part of it, but what are other things that you had to hand off as part of that to Neil?
We have ticket closure. So each one of our tickets goes through a closure review process where we determine if the tech worked it completely and properly. We make sure that the notes are properly documented. The actions that were taken are properly noted in the ticket, is what I should say. And then we look at invoicing. And so that was one thing that we did have to hand off. What we ended up doing is I've actually taken on all of those roles. So I'm responsible for what the service manager previously was. So I'm reviewing the tickets. I also have all of our project management. And so I'll break down the projects, send out the statuses, and we've really automated the reporting to support that. And then my third role is really the operations management, which is where I would like to spend most of my time and in that kind of side, that role of oversight. I do think it's really amazing that Kanban has allowed us to reduce those roles to the point where they're just a portion of my time. All right. I'm going to jump on to service delivery boost. So when we started with before TopLeft, we were at capacity. Now, a lot of that was because we were scheduling tickets. It didn't take the full day. And so we weren't necessarily all working our techs weren't all working an 8-hour day, but they were scheduled for an 8-hour day. And so what this service delivery boost is about is when you move to Kanban and you're allowing the time that it actually takes to work the ticket and then moving on to the next ticket, you reduce so much waste. You also share the workload through the cross training that we just talked about. And that is so empowered by those stand-up meetings. Also, I want to call out that when you have those big pieces of work and you break them down to the smaller pieces and everybody dives in and works on them together, or multiple techs work on it together, you can get those large deliveries out so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, our delivery capacity has opened up so much that we're actually looking at adding another salesperson right now to help fill that capacity.
Wow. That's huge. Actually, I've taught that part before, breaking down the tickets and stuff. It just kind of hit me in a special how you can actually not just to visualize it, but the impact of you can actually hand it off to other people. So the engineer might have put it as a 10-hour ticket to do whatever task or 20-hour ticket, and it's got to go to one person because it's one ticket. But if you can break it down, now you can give, things can be done in parallel and parceled out to maybe lower skilled people or less experienced people and move it forward.
And I think that's huge there, right? Say you have that 10-hour ticket and say you have your senior tech assigned to it because it requires some of the higher level skill sets. And then that senior tech is doing both, I'll say the tier 1 and the tier to responsibilities. Instead of doing that, if a tier one tech can jump in and say, hey, I'll do this piece of it, then it takes that away from that more skilled resource and allows them to spend their time on the higher points of value.
Yeah.
Thoughts, comments on this? Are you doing this today? Have you seen a boost?
Yeah. That's just huge. Get your senior people on doing only senior work that they absolutely need to be doing. That's a huge impact.
Yep. Jordan, I like the idea of breaking the big jobs down. Yes.
Huge.
And then when your more senior people have more availability, they can spend more time training. And I think that is so big, right? Because then the next time around, that lower level tech can actually do more. And it just continues to snowball into having a more robust skill set on your
Yeah.
team.
More time for documentation, SOPs, creating videos, technical debt.
All of that good stuff.
Yeah. Be more proactive. Yeah. And when they're
Yeah.
crazy busy and running at 100% utilization, it's taking them forever to get stuff down, to get done. You give them something new and it all takes longer. Just like a bottleneck on like internet connections. If you're an ADSL line and you're uploading big files, your voice over IP will be trashed. That's why they want these people at like 80, 90% kind of busyness, utilization, if you will. So you can be responsive. You got to pull them into a project or a quote or something, you can do that and their work is still getting done.
Exactly. You nailed it.
Okay.
All right, so this slide is our overall journey. So May 23 is when I started at Morgan Berger. In August of 2023 is when we started our implementation with the pilot team. I was talking about this earlier today. We started with a pilot team and I thought we would pilot for a month or even longer. However, within a couple of weeks, we had so much success on bringing our ticket counts down. The team was happy with the new way of working, and it started pulling other teams into that momentum. And so we piloted to another and another and another, and we were fully rolled out in September of 2023. We saw that impact to our ticket count. We were in a leadership meeting and our CEO said to the CTO, what do you think about this? And our CTO immediately responded back. He said, I'll never go back. And what he meant was, I'll never go back to scheduling. And so we immediately had all of that positive impact and that positive feedback. By October of 2023, we had cut our average ticket count in more than half. Then I'll keep going here. December, one of our more junior techs, he had been kind of adverse to this. He called out, I had my doubts, but this is really great. And what we saw from him was he was one of those resources that the service manager just assigned him to the most basic work. And when he was allowed to look at what the next ticket was and go and research it, he really found a lot of engagement there and excitement there. And so he started working on those harder tickets. And he's always great about getting coaching, making sure that what he's doing is the correct way of approaching something. He's been so successful with that that he was actually promoted to a senior tech in one of the areas in May. So huge growth for him there. In between the two that I just called out with that tech, in March, we did eliminate the service manager position. By June, our CEO, when I'm out, he says everything just runs. And that's because we have those incoming tickets. Our techs are picking up the incoming tickets. Nobody needs to be there. Nobody needs to be assigning those out. In the past, when the service manager was out or the project manager was out, then somebody had to be there reassigning those day after day. And that's not the case anymore. And so that's just been a huge impact, and it's really freed us up. August, I mentioned that we are opening a position for a salesperson in order to help fill our capacity. And then just our current state overall, when we compare it to where we started, our average ticket count is less than half. We've eliminated a position. We've increased our capacity. Our client satisfaction is fantastic. We're responding to their tickets faster. We don't have those drop tickets where they're reaching out to us saying, where is this at? Our skill development, we see that engagement from our techs. Our techs are excited. They're learning new things. They are volunteering to work in additional areas, etc. And then we see that teamwork and that collaboration, and we're really all coming together. And so I think that's the Morgan Berger journey that we're on. I know that we still have a lot of maturing to do, and I'm excited to see where TopLeft takes us.
Awesome. No, thank you for sharing all of that. So yeah, people got questions, put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I will bring those up. But yeah, just going back to the beginning, to Neil, what was, I think it was, you said your CFO or the CTO had put in the whole scheduling system. Was that right?
It was our CFO had
Yeah.
put in the scheduling system, yeah. And he was pretty adverse to changing to a new methodology. He had done all of the work to get that implemented. But once I finally got them, our leadership group, convinced to try a new methodology, then we immediately saw those benefits. And I'm so glad, because it's got me a lot of trust with our leadership group. One thing that was extremely helpful for me to sell TopLeft and Kanban to our leadership team was the integration with ConnectWise, because I said, if this doesn't work, we just stop using TopLeft. ConnectWise will be updated, etc. So we have nothing to lose. So that really helped me out there.
Yeah, but then, so what about the technicians? What was their initial reaction when you're like, hey, we're gonna not dispatch and just use Kanban? What was their initial reaction?
I think a lot of them just thought it was too simple. Like,
Mm.
why? I heard it sometimes they would say, but I know what I'm doing today now. And I would look at them and I would say, but do you really? Because we both know that your day is going to change as those tickets come in that are urgent, and there was that understanding. And so there was kind of some hesitation there of, I like that I know what I'm doing today, but the reality of it was that they didn't. And so with Kanban, I feel like they have even more control. And I think as they're getting in there and using TopLeft, they realize that they do have more control. They love that they get to finish tasks. I think, that strain of picking up and putting down and trying to remember where you were at and having so many balls in the air that you're trying to keep going, with TopLeft, it just really reduces that. I see a lot more calmness in the text and just a lot more comfort. It's a more learning environment rather than a reactive environment.
And with that transition, like the business is still running, tickets are coming in, and clients got to be helped. So how do you kind of manage that? Was there a lot of time required on just implementing this in the meetings and everything?
There really wasn't. I think we just kind of transitioned from that scheduling. We probably did a lot more scheduling at the beginning, and then at this point, we hardly do any scheduling. The only things that we schedule are, like I said, if we're getting on a client computer, if we're bringing down a network, those things that are super impacting. But at first, I think to transition, it's okay to go ahead and schedule and kind of reduce that scheduling over time in order to make that a gradual transition that they can trust.
Yeah. Yeah, just curious from like the last 3 or 6 months, is there anything else you've optimized or improved with the whole workflow and Kanban and such?
We have recently also rolled this out to our procurement team. And with that, we're revising some of our processes around that in order to make the flow from our service engineers to procurement smoother. And it's really helped there.
Oh, I was just going to ask a question. What do clients notice? And Judy asked the question. When a client calls with an issue, who takes the call and creates the ticket? Or do you force it all to go through like email?
Before I started, so before May of 2023, we do have a voice service that picks up and creates a ticket for any calls that come in. We encourage our customers to utilize our client portal. And right now we're using the ConnectWise client portal. Um, so we encourage our customers to start there. We feel like that's the cleanest ticket submission because we have different templates. So like we have new user onboarding, we have offboardings, and then when those come into ConnectWise, they're set up with the proper types, subtypes. We know the client, etc. And so that's the cleanest way for our tickets to come in. So that's what we encourage. The primary way to submit a ticket. We also, I would say, our secondary way is through email. And then third is by calls, because if a user calls in, then that ticket does have to be touched.
Yeah.
We do have an emergency service that's through our call, through our phone system, and then that creates pages for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of, besides the ConnectWise portal, a lot of third-party portals, Cloud Radio and other ones, Desk Director, that have a really good client experience too.
To know. The client, Judy, I see that you say that we don't do that as much as we should. The client portal is something that we've started using, I would say, in the last 6 months. And the more that we use it, the more we like it. Our techs are calling out, especially on new user onboarding. So much of the time, our client wouldn't include all the information needed. And then there was that back and forth. And when they fill out that form, there's the benefit of not having that back and forth.
Yeah, and then I guess any other metrics that you watch, you mentioned utilization is up, that's like an internal metric, but like SLAs, response or resolution time, any client-facing metrics that have improved along the way?
We did not have SLAs in place. We have recently put SLAs in place and we're starting to monitor those. That's been very helpful. Utilization has been something that we've really driven. Back in May, when I started, it was frequent that our techs would only log tickets if they knew that we were going to invoice on that ticket. And so it's really been a lot of shift in order to get our techs logging their time with every action that they take. And we've been really I've been really passionate that they're logging all of their time. I want to know how much time they're spending in stand-ups. I want to know how much time that they're spending in each area in order for us to really monitor that. And then a real key piece of that has been that we're really starting to monitor our project profitability. And Wim, I think you said the other day that MSPs, their projects are often not profitable. What was that metric that you said? Sorry, put you on the spot.
Yeah, on the spot. Let me look at my notes. I was at this conference in let me look. Like the average profit of an MSP is something like 8% in the industry. And I think a big cause of that is people do project as like a loss leader. Like, well, we don't make much money, but we really want our MRR. It's good for evaluation, these different things. And they're over budget. I think that projects are lingering on forever. It's really bad. And it doesn't need to be that way. Like they should be, profitable projects, right? And that's just, you need a process, you need the culture, and getting them done. Having templates is a key one. Like every project should be created with the template. There's no reason not to do that. And just standardizing that work and the documentation, the setup, the tear down, everything to wrap up. But that's actually why I started TopLeft, because our projects were a mess and losing clients, like signing them up, literally lost multiple clients because we're botching the projects, even though we had ConnectWise. Yeah.
TopLeft has helped us so much in that aspect.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So very good. So anybody got questions, or maybe just what's your takeaway? What's something you're going to go and investigate or look about, or conversation you're going to have with the leadership or with your team? Just share that in the chat. This here is the typical journey for clients coming on with TopLeft. We always start with the fit check, just the demo, looking at the product, doing a demo there based on your situation, like what's a metric you want to improve. Then once you get started, basically within hours, you can see your data on a Kanban board. And so you can set up some initial boards. We do the concierge call and to get our recommended boards. So we have it in our knowledge base. There's videos. We'll go in and one-on-one work with you, visualize your existing tickets and projects in your PSA. Then for you is if you're doing this on your own, you got to plan your launch. So this is obviously what Tennille did in those first couple of weeks, so explaining why, what's changing, the responsibilities. We're not going to be scheduling. We're going to be doing this agile flow. Here's how it works. It's visual. We're going to be doing the huddles, explaining the method, the mindset. So you got to plan your launch and then train your team. So introduce it, go through a slide deck. We do have templates for that you can use. We got lots of videos, so you can get your team watching those. Your coordinator, your managers, engineers, give them half an hour videos, and then launch. So get your daily huddles going, start working through your backlogs, your stale, your neglected tickets. So Tennille mentioned she went from 180 down to 80. We had a weekly coaching call this morning, and somebody was cleaning up their old tickets, going from like 400 down to I think 125. So we've got training on that with our completed ticket videos, which you can go through that we include in there. So doing this on your own, again, we're providing a bit of help there with the kickoff and setting up the boards. Doing it on your own, there's a bunch of trial and error. It can take several months to go through it. If you put the time in, like one client said he spent the time watching the videos and he's moving quicker. So this is the typical roadmap. You can do it in 30 days. If you got the experience, Tennille had previous experience doing this in other organizations, but with something else as well. So let's go to the next slide here. I'll just recap how we help with adoption. Everyone gets sorry, go back one there. Yeah, so everybody coming onto TopLeft, you're getting the adoption toolkit. So the onboarding call and we get the video resources to go through on your own and time with customer success. With the accelerator program, we do weekly group coaching calls. That's something we launched about 2-3 months ago. So live training, coaching, we do a call every week. And we get discounts on the Agile certification course. So we've been getting people in there. Let's go next, which is something really exciting, is the Kanban implementation project. I'd call that a jump start or a rapid implementation. This is something that Tennille and I have put together. So Tennille is actually taking what she presented today. The results you get is helping you to do that in 30 days. If you can make the time for these couple of meetings, we'll help you get the same results. So look at your workflow, see how you can improve that with TopLeft. Is there misalignment and how the tickets are being handled? Just white glove service. So the previous things we mentioned is all kind of done with you or do it yourself. This is like done for you. Come in, install these methods. And then, so statement of work, obviously initial call, initial fit assessment. Is this a fit? If not, then no problem. Otherwise, let's plan this process. So working sessions, create the boards, dial them in based on your team's needs. And every team is different. And so we see down these weekly coaching calls as a wide variety of boards because you can use TopLeft in a lot of ways. And train the team and then getting the stand-up meetings going. So that's key, is a daily meeting. I see that if I look at success with people using TopLeft, are they doing a huddle or not? At least 3 times a week, preferably 5. So Tennille will come in and help facilitate it and hand it off so you guys can run your own huddles. So if that's of interest, let me know and we'll set that up. With that, is there other questions in the queue here? No. Pop those in. But yeah, what are takeaways that people have or questions? I'm happy to hang out here for 5-10 minutes. Very thankful for everyone for being here. Thank you, Tennille, for sharing this wisdom and experience in the journey. Very, very powerful.
Appreciate the time. I learned so much by sharing and talking through it. So thank you. I do see that, Judy, you asked the question, did our clients resist using the client portal? I expected that, but no. In fact, our clients love it. I've talked to them about if you make them a ticket manager and they're able to see all of the tickets for their org, and then they're able to control those, monitor those, interact with those, and really see what's going on. And a lot of our clients have found a lot of power there. And so they like that. And Wim, I know TopLeft has a portal. Do you want to talk about I want to play with that. I haven't gotten to yet. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so we launched that 2 years ago, the client portal. So you can use it standalone. It also integrates with Cloud Radio if you're using that as your client experience, client portal platform. So clients can create tickets in there, even project tickets. They can see their projects and the service work. So the same view as a Kanban board. So the same visualization, the columns, the left to right. They can click in there, see your notes, not your internal ones, but all your public description notes. Add a comment in there, add attachments as well. So working the same flow. So you can see exactly where the tickets are at, the priorities, because you're ranking the ticket, so they can see where it is. So some of our largest clients are using this for their account management, sales engineering, help desk, all those things. And that's we can buy those licenses in the portal, of course, or reach out and we'll set those up. Managers get 5 client portal licenses included, or you can buy the additional licenses.
I can't wait to check it out.
Yep. And yeah. Right. All right. Well, with that, we've covered all the questions. So again, thank you very much. And we will see you on the next webinars. Do watch the emails on the website. We have a lot of events coming up with other clients presenting as well on projects, on service. Our partners are presenting as well, and lots of content coming up.